Hello everyone, Flanker here. In this video, we'll be diving into a detailed breakdown of everything we saw during the recent Ashes of Creation livestream. We will carefully analyze each part of the showcase, highlighting what was truly impressive and what requires improvement or polishing. So let's start with an overview of the new event. The first thing that stands out is the graphics, which are steadily improving over time. The only issue that caught my eye is the overly bright sunlight, which might need to be toned down a bit to make it less blinding. But keep in mind, what we're seeing isn't even Alpha 2 yet, so there are still many polishing iterations ahead. Additionally, the game is currently being tested by PI testers and Alpha 1 pack holders, but since it's under NDA, we don't have any specific details about that. I've seen comments where people express dissatisfaction with the graphics, which I find a bit odd for several reasons. First of all, Twitch streaming itself degrades the graphic quality, and we are watching the video in 1080p, not even in 2K resolution. The real in-game graphics will look better than what we see on the streams, and those who have access to Alpha 2 will soon be able to confirm this. Secondly, when switching to the POV of other testers, keep in mind that everyone might have different PC setups and not all of them may be running the game on max settings. Finally, if you think the graphics are poor, compared to what? I hope it's obvious why MMO graphics can't be compared to those of single-player games. As for the other MMOs where you think the graphics are better, consider this. Ashes of Creation is designed to handle massive battles involving hundreds of players. I mean, sure, you could spend countless hours making each character model have 100 billion polygons, but what's the point if your FPS drops to 5 whenever another character appears on the horizon? As for the combat, it looks pretty solid and smooth for Alpha 2. In this video, Steven plays as a healer, and we occasionally get to see the POV of other group members. In my subjective opinion, it would have been better to switch POVs more frequently, and overall to use the perspective of a more dynamic archetype. The healer's POV might seem a bit dull to some viewers. Another thing, and I'm not sure if it's just me, but the combat overall seems a bit too flashy. However, my opinion is based on being a spectator rather than a participant. And let me explain what I mean. When I watch gameplay from a game I've never played, like Fortnite or something similar, I often have absolutely no idea what's happening on the screen, and it feels somewhat overwhelming. But when I play something like Squad, I fully understand and can navigate what's going on around me, even in intense action moments, and I feel pretty comfortable. So it's entirely possible that my opinion might change when Alpha 2 begins and I experience the gameplay firsthand. It's also interesting to take a look at the group setup. 2 healers, 2 fighters, ranger, mage, tank, and a bard. I remember discussing potential group setups before and suggesting that a standard group would most likely include at least 2 healers. There are various significant benefits of having 2 healers, such as more comfortable mob farming, fewer deaths and as a result fewer death penalties, reduced risk of running out of mana, a much lower chance of a full group wipe if one healer goes down, and a better chance of being resurrected if things go wrong. Since this showcase features players around level 20, the differences in HP across the various archetypes become much more noticeable. Ranger, mage, bard, and healers have HP in the range of 25 to 2800, while the fighters on average have 3.5k. But the tank has almost 5000 HP, and that fully justifies the archetype name. Another important detail, which has been a concern for many players, is the mana pool. It's reassuring to see that by level 20, players are having far fewer issues with mana, and it doesn't run out after just a few abilities. There's enough mana that even Steven wasn't caught using cheats, though more accurately, cheats specifically related to mana. So let me say it once again. Don't panic over nothing. Most of the things that seem like a problem now most likely won't be an issue at all eventually. As for the event itself, it essentially consists of 3 parts: fighting through mobs to reach the summoning circle, fending off waves of attacks until the Lady of the Rose appears, and then protecting her while she spell breaks the ritual. Overall, the event is pretty standard. Not bad, but nothing groundbreaking either. It's a decent way to break up the grind, and successfully completing the event triggers the appearance of the Firebrand dragon. Additionally, we see Steven receive a relic at the end, but we don't get to see what this relic is or what effect it has. Come on, Steven, we would really like to know that. Now, let's finally move on to the climax of the stream, the appearance of the dragon, which, by the way, looks incredibly epic. Lineage 2 players, let me guess. You probably couldn't help but think that the whole scene reminded you of Velakas, right? As long as the dragon isn't disturbed, we can observe him going about his everyday dragon business, aggressively scanning his surroundings, asserting his dominance, dragons, digging into the ground, chewing on something, and occasionally roaring. It all looks quite good, but I can't shake the feeling that something is missing. I don't want to be one of those people who nitpick every little detail or ask for absurd things, but it would be great to add a bit more variety, especially considering this is a world boss. For example, it would be nice if the dragon moved around more, lay down to sleep, or occasionally breathed fire. But again, for Alpha 2, everything looks pretty solid and additional polishing can always be done later. Another awesome moment was the shift in background music to an epic soundtrack right as the dragon battle began.
All right, here we go. Let's do this.
Let's do this! Oh my gosh, look at this dude.
Oh.
As for the raid itself, it's kinda hard to expect anything too extraordinary from a classic dragon fight. Basic attacks, attempts to trample someone, magma circles appearing, and tail swipes, it's the standard set of dragon attacks. The fire-breathing attacks, on the other hand, look absolutely fantastic. Did anyone else get strong Game of Thrones vibes after seeing this? At first, it seemed like the dragon's HP was dropping too quickly, making the fight appear too easy. However, that wasn't the case, as the boss apparently has multiple phases where its behavior changes. I really liked the moment when the boss spawned minions that needed to be taken out as quickly as possible, because the longer they stay alive, the more stacks of the enraged buff the boss accumulates. Another noteworthy aspect is that when using AoE attacks, the boss targets the largest clusters of players thanks to its adaptive AI. This requires players to position themselves carefully and stay alert, or they may end up like Bucky, who, as a bard with 2700 HP, was instantly roasted in his own juice. And here are a few things I noticed that could be improved or fixed in the future. First, during certain animations, the dragon's wings sometimes clip through the ground. Second, after performing a fire breathe attack while flying, the dragon's turning animation looks a bit unnatural. While these issues aren't critical for Alpha 2, it would be great if they could be addressed later on. Next, the dragon's movement and attacks don't seem to affect the water at all. Honestly, I'm not sure how difficult this would be to implement from a technical perspective, or whether a lot of splash effects may cause FPS drops for players, but I guess it's something worth considering. Finally, regarding the dragon's attacks, especially its tail swipes, it would be awesome if getting hit by its tail resulted in a knockback. It just feels like a natural consequence. After all, the dragon is a massive and powerful creature, isn't it? Additionally, since dragons are supposed to be terrifying, I would suggest the fear debuff when it comes to world boss fights. This mechanic existed in Lineage 2, and in my opinion, it could fit perfectly into this kind of battle. Basically, this debuff with a certain chance would cause a player to lose control of their character for 5 to 10 seconds, making them turn and run in the opposite direction from the boss. So what do you guys think about it? After the showcase, one of the questions asked to Steven was quite important and directly related to raids.
Bosses like these are open world. How will we address people that bring way more players than the boss is intended for?
This is going to be adaptive AI behaviors that are going to have a higher level of frequency. That's going to make it very difficult to kind of zerg down certain content. That is the intent behind that system, is to kind of be an anti-zerg mechanism.
However, adaptive AI isn't the only thing that may prevent zerging. Steven touched on this topic in another video, but it seems he completely forgot to mention this important detail during the last livestream.
Another part of our design that is more old school, but speaks exactly to this thought, is that the reward is finite. And what that means is, in a lot of modern MMOs, each person gets their own reward for participating. And back in the day, the one person was the loot master. They would interact with the raid boss, and then there would be some guild-driven system or alliance-driven system that would determine who's next on the list to get this bow, or who's the crafter that deserves this master legendary recipe, or where does this, legendary material go. Right? It's not that, oh, everybody got your loot box because we all completed the boss together. Everyone gets the auto-granted reward from the quest of completing the boss together, right? What people came for that reward, the reason why alliances and guilds organized the raid to go defeat the dragon was because the dragon bow dropped and there was only one that dropped, right? So the more people you take, the more slices of the finite pie you have to deliver. which reduces the reward structure. So if you're going to reduce risk, you must reduce reward.
Dude, that's so good.
Love that. I love that.
That's so good.
For example, let's take a look at the loot from the dragon. 3 heroic weapons and 1 rare breastplate, which means that a maximum of 4 players will receive something as a reward. That's only 10% of the raid participants, and if there were 100 people instead of 40, the already small chance of getting a piece of gear as a reward would become even smaller. Obviously, the drop tables aren't final yet, but I think you get the idea, right? Overall, I was left with a positive impression after watching the dragon battle. Everything looks quite good for Alpha 2 and has the potential to be even better in the future. If you liked the breakdown of the stream that we did in this video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next one. Likes and dislikes are entirely up to you. By the way, today is my birthday and your support would be a great gift for me. I am Flanker and I'll see you soon.